Alright, hey everybody. Try to get the camera set up right here. Let's see, does this... I used the thing before, so bear with me here. Whoops. Well, Chicken Nugs, now that I know who you are, I asked your dad the other day, I'm like, what the heck happened to Cassie? It's like, oh, she changed her screen name, so that makes more sense. All right. Static, I can't remember. Hopefully this will stop wobbling here in a second. So, just let me know if the camera angle works. So what I'm doing here, as I go on ahead and screw up everything I just did. So it's virtually the end of the season. We have a couple more weeks left in our Scratch League here at Royal Crest Lanes, Lawrence, Kansas. Thanks to the owner, Larry Burton, the GM, Jesse Bauer, and Dragon Ramps, and the head mechanic, Rocky Russell, for getting me set up and taken care of here. Anytime I need to come practice or shoot some video or whatever, I just shoot a text and they take care of me. So I really like bowling here and really like shooting video here. So what we're doing is that it's virtually the end of the season. We have a couple weeks left in our Scratch League here, and now that all these are upside down and backwards, you know what, heck it, I'll show them off each as I use them. So yeah, Jesse's pretty well the GM. He's pretty well the GM. He's Larry's second in command, I'm pretty sure. So, all right, I'm going to set this back up and try to not look at it, touch it, or anything else. If I miss any comments here, I'm going to be busy, so cancel that. Let me know about the camera angle, but so it's pretty close to the end of the season. Like I said, we have a couple weeks left in our Scratch League, and so there for a while I was doing bowling ball roulette and bringing something different, bringing a bunch of different stuff to the league every week, and wasn't really helping me be consistent or learn that much since everything was new all the time. So I started kind of just relying on the tried and true stuff. I brought what worked. And now that it's the end of the season, I've got a bunch of balls with holes in them in the basement. And so, number one, there's a few very pertinent things I need to practice. And I also need to go through and figure out, what needs to go in the bag more often, or what needs to go in the bag for certain tournaments or certain centers. Or just so I can get kind of just so I get a better idea what I have, and maybe if some stuff needs to be let go, or again, we're going to try a bunch of different stuff. So the first one I'm going to start off with is the astrophysics. This one has my kind of standard ASIM layout on it. It's 5 by 3.5 by 2.5. The kind of weaker, 5 isn't necessarily a weak pin, but it's kind of on the weaker side. But this really, really strong PSA gets the ball winding up down at the mid lane. So I can use the pin distance to kind of get me some length through the fronts and then get it to wind up when I need it, instead of just being strong across the board. So this is one that I had 2 or 3 of them right-handed, and so this was one that I threw a whole bunch lefty when I got started, and then as some new stuff came out, UC2, Rubicon, I got more comfortable with other stuff, and this one just kind of sat there for no real reason. So we're going to start with this one because I know exactly what this one does. I'm really comfortable with it, and I just kind of need to I think make myself use it more often. So the couple things that I personally need to work on is, as I've gotten better, at first it was just kind of like, keep everything as simple as possible, just hit the pocket. We don't want to get too adventurous or too exciting. Well, now that I've started to get a little bit more control over, my shot making and what I'm doing, I've gotten a little too creative, and so that's hurt me quite a bit here recently. So after a pretty rough tournament over the weekend, I thought, what, we're just going to go back to basics here and go back to hitting the pocket, because that's what I was being successful with. You don't need to get too exciting, really. So and that's one of the things I need to work on, is tempo and pace, really. I tend to want to get too fast with my feet, and then I dump it like that. So I need to slow my feet down. I need to try not to rip on it so much at the bottom. I need to just kind of stay slow and simple and get out of the ball good. See, because if I just walk up there and make a good shot, then that happens. This is kind of normally where I stand at this house. I give it a little bit of belly. This is definitely a lefty house, I'd say, or the shot is really scoreable on both sides, but the only difference is that it starts breaking down for the righties. Otherwise, it's very even and equal on each side here. It's just, obviously, it holds up longer for the lefties, and so over the night, the lefties tend to score a little bit better. I don't want to get too slow, but, again, all I have to do is stay somewhat slower and make a decent shot. I don't have to rip the cover off. And with the stronger layouts I have, especially with, obviously, the technology and bowling balls of today, there's no reason to, Norm Duke, Liz Johnson, a lot of the straighter players still get plenty of ball motion, so it's just up to you to kind of trick it. See, the only problem with, once again, this is really the only problem with this, is that when I did leave something, it was going to be a flat 10 most of the time, because the back ends are sharper on the left side of the lane generally. And so the first thing that happens is you get your own carry down. I'm going to shoot this because I need practice with these anyway. I should have brought a spare ball, but... Normally I throw my ProMotion at those because it's not going to, again, an Astro it's asymmetric. It's got a pretty high response cover, and so if I was throwing my ProMotion, I would have picked that up, but with a stronger ball like this, especially a more flippy one, it's just going to drive right by it unless I completely just dump it. So I could probably either, 'cause that one still kicked the 10, but it was a little bit later and longer than I would like. So I can either straighten up a little bit, or I can move in and belly it a little bit more. I'm going to try to straighten it out, even though normally that makes me walk faster to try to throw it harder. I need to work on just being softer with my hands. So that was kind of I don't know, I moved to board left with my feet. I kept my target the same. I'm really trying to hit 5 or 6 down lane most of the time. And that's pretty consistent across the board. Is the one thing that I'm finding out is it's really hard to shim it kind of on the left side. If you get deep, you kind of have to go around it. That's why you see a lot of the lefties that wheel the ball, Packy, Buttriff, whatever else. They don't really kind of let the ball walk out there. They get it out really quick, and then you see a bigger back end motion. You know, of course, this is not terribly exciting. It just kind of feels like you're throwing darts. But again, you know, especially when you're in tournaments. I mean, if you're in league and you want to spice things up and bring different bowling balls, I mean, that's really how league bowlers make things a little bit more exciting, because it's the same house, same pattern. The pros have different stuff, different conditions, different centers, you know, you name it all the time. So for league bowlers, the way that we kind of inject some excitement or life into it is we buy a lot of bowling balls and bring as many as possible. Plus, this is also some kind of limit. This is some limit testing as well with the equipment. Is I've got to see not only how it stacks up against the other balls that I brought, how comfortable it is for me to throw, but I've got to see, okay, can I play straighter with it? Can I get deeper with it? Is it something that's going to, you know, boom from deeper, come back? Is it something that's going to get down the lane from straight and give me some control? And the Astro is kind of the best of both worlds. I can get in and spin it if I want to, because it's asymmetric. It's sharp enough that I can play straight with it and get back, you know, and get out of it really soft to get back in motion. Plus, with it being such a responsive cover, it's going to glide more in the oil. See, that wasn't a very good shot, but it still got the pins down, so this is probably where I would stay, because if I was that extra board or two right, that probably would have been a flat 10, or would have been a 3-pin or something. It probably would have rolled out. But being close enough to the friction, it put me in a spot to carry that, really. But again, my natural tendency, with as strong as this ball still is, and with as boomy as it is on the back end, I don't want, if I throw it a little slow, it's going to go through the nose. And so my focus here is going to be keep your speed up, keep your hands soft. So that dump was kind of a product of not necessarily being exactly comfortable, but the ball reaction's really good from here when I throw it like this. So instead of just saying, okay, well, I'm not comfortable, I need to do something different, well, this is practice. So obviously the ball motion's great, and so I need to learn to be more comfortable with doing this. So that was a lot better shot. Something I do tend to do also is square my shoulders up a little bit too much. So that one I opened my shoulders up a little bit more so I could, you know, project the ball without kind of dumping it. it kind of looks like, I'm sure that you've seen on a few of these shots where it looks like I'm kind of trying to shove the ball to the, shove the ball out rather than kind of just let it swing and let it go. So I try to open my shoulders a little bit. And the problem there is that I get the ball to the friction too quick, and I don't need practice at that. So I've got a pretty good idea. I've already thrown this ball a lot and just kind of stopped throwing it once it got discontinued and some other stuff came out, and new and shiny stuff. So I'm moving a little bit, but I pretty well know what I've got with this ball. I'm just trying to again reinforce. You should probably take this out a lot more often. If I could be a left-handed Francois, that's the goal. That is the goal. It really is as simple as just making good shots and beating the pocket to death. The revs, all the speed in the revs throw pins around, but if you notice, Frankie seems to make it to TV a lot, and he seems to hang around and seems to squeak out a lot of stuff. That one I got around. I moved basically 4 and 0, so I moved 4 boards right with my feet and left the target the same. Probably a little bit too much angle, but like I said, the left side of the lane is just flatter in the middle, so there's really no feathering it or fading it. I have more room inside here than I do virtually anywhere else, but because in order to shim it, you've got to get firmer and you've got to get softer with your hand. Well, then you start running into flat sevens, and the shapes needed to carry just kind of start going away. So if I did shim it, I could hit the pocket more, but I'm probably going to lose a lot in carry percentage. Like that. That's really why I need to keep the ball on the 5 or 6 board. I have to get around the middle and get a little bit of angle going into the pocket. I mean, that's why you see, Buttriff swinging a purple hammer. It can be done on the left side of the lane, but most of the guys on the right side of the lane are not, booming a purple hammer like somebody like Buttriff does. So yeah, this ball definitely needs to go. I did drill a lefty P2. I had the phase 2, the one that I did for my new versus old video, right-handed, and I plugged and re-drilled that one. Didn't really like the layout. So I'm probably going to drill something fresh, but I just don't need that much ball on hardly anything very often. Most of the time, on the right side of the lane, outside of 5, is kind of OB. Whether it's on a house shot and it's going to springboard and turn sideways, or most of the time the righties just don't fiddle with that unless they're playing straighter up. The deeper they, the further they 5 board. But when you watch again Buttriff on something tough, he's still hitting the 5 board with the purple hammer. He's playing like 3rd or 4th arrow, just because, again, you've got to get in deep and you've got to roll the ball a little bit more to get the pin carry that you need on the left side of the lane. Whereas on the right side, you kind of need the blend more than anything else, and so they kind of play that shim line. See, I got that one in a board, 2 boards maybe, and I knew right off my hand it was going to struggle to get there. So, and sorry if I'm missing a bunch of the comments. I was going to bring my laptop, but I got out of the house without it. I'm just glad that I remembered the phone stand. So I'm going to move just a little bit deeper with the Astro just to show it off a bit, but we're already 20 minutes in and I've got 5 more balls to throw, and I have no idea how long my phone battery is going to last. Yeah, especially since I kind of know what's going on with this ball already. That was a tug, grab, whatever you want to call it. Right now my brain's telling me, okay, that we're a little too steep for this already, so that's why I grabbed it. Sometimes you can trust just your instincts. Like I'm too deep I'm going to have to do too much with the ball. Because despite being asymmetric, despite being a stronger ball, I'm on a fresh shot, and it's R2S Pearl, which is basically the High Road Pearl IQ Emerald cover stock. So it's a lot weaker and more responsive cover stock, even though it's got that asymmetric core. Need to remember to stay slow, even though I am slowing my speed down a little bit and adding some rev rate. I need to stay slow. I tend to, when I want to get on it, I tend to walk faster for some reason. So the first shot was just a pure tug because my arm got there before my arm got there before my feet did. See what I'm saying? Even this deep, yeah, that was in a couple boards, but a couple boards is the difference between hitting it. It's not like on the right side where you can tug it 2 or 3, and maybe it'll sit there, maybe it'll trip a 4. You tug it 2 or 3 on the left side, and it's just gone. There's no reason to even watch it. See, we hit the 6 board and it strikes. It's amazing how predictable that is. All right, we're going to move on here because I still got more balls to get through. Because every time a parallax is used, he will hate it. Well, they probably won't be using a parallax on TV. It still looks like I have no idea what to do with it. The balance arm thing just is, I'm just trying to keep it out of the way, really. So, all right. So we'll take a look at the Rubicon next. This is another one that I feel like I have a pretty good idea about. It's kind of like a solid version of the Astro, really. I mean, it's a mild asymmetric ball, but the cover formulas are very similar. So, a bit less torque down lane, but still a pretty dynamic motion overall. I'm going to start off going straight again. So pretty well exactly what you would expect out of, something that's it's a little bit stronger, a little bit smoother than the Astro. Like I said, the cover formulas are very similar, and cover designators don't really matter from different formula. Like eTrax Pearl has nothing in common with NRG Pearl, for example, because the cover formulas are so different. NRG Pearl is actually earlier and smoother for me than eTrax Solid or R2S Solid or something like that. So. Feet got a little fast there, but everything was kind of on the line, so. Yeah. This phone only pops up one question at a time, and then it's gone. So if I miss it, I'm sorry. Like I said, I intended to bring my laptop so I could kind of keep track of questions and answer them. But at the same time, I'm trying to practice and figure some things out here. So. So this is another one that I said in the review. It looks so good here in the review. I said I'm going to be bringing this to League every week. It ended up just a little too strong on the back end. It looked good, but it's just a little too strong. It was a little too strong on the back end at the time for my skill level, I guess. Stuff like the ProMotion, IQ Tornado Pearl, really smooth and blendy stuff that I could just kind of square up with, keep it simple and hit the pocket with. Now that I've gotten better, though, stuff like this and the Astro can start getting back in the bag. What do you think about the upcoming Dark Code Luke Rex cover? Yeah, we all thought that Rex was a typo. Chad did put out a new cover strength and core strength list. REX is the third strongest, behind NEX, Traction X7. So Dark Code should be a stronger Code Black, and actually Storm has a Dark Code versus Code Black video premiering today at 1 p.m. Central, I believe. Okay, got it out a little bit far, but that's just a miss. I wasn't too unhappy with anything else going on there. So this one again I'm pretty familiar with, and I think that's why a lot of the stuff that sits in my basement, because I kind of look at it and go like, oh, I know what that one does, and I know what that one does, and then I just end up leaving them there. All right, now in a situation like this, I'm throwing it in the same place where I started with the Astro, and with the Astro I ended up moving a little bit left to get me a little bit better ball motion. Well, that one I just threw as good as I can throw it. I mean, that's exactly what I wanted to do, and it was a little firm, so I'm going to move, instead of going to board left, I'm going to go board right. Probably should have gone an extra board because my feet got a little bit quick there. My head's telling me that I'm a little bit worried about the ball getting down the lane, so. In that situation, I need to do the more comfortable thing, which is either move further right or take a little bit more hand out of it. So I'm going to try to stay in here and taking more hand out of it. That was fairly comfortable, so I'll throw another couple again there. There's really no reason to add angle on the left side unless you absolutely have to. Sometimes you just have to, but it's a fairly rare day on a house shot when you have to play fourth arrow on the left side. It just doesn't really ever happen. That was pretty good. It was a little in and firm. You know, another thing that you're looking for here too is I'm looking for forgiveness. I mean, first of all, you have to know that you're in the right part of the lane. Sometimes a ball seeming a little too touchy or inconsistent means that you're just not playing the lanes right. You don't have the right ball in your hand. But on something like this, where I know ball reaction is good, and I know that it kind of fits, I'm really paying attention to how much forgiveness it's giving me. So when you know that you're in the right part of the lane, you're throwing a ball that realistically should be working from here. You know, that one I got around and it didn't make it down the lane, which I didn't really expect it to. But if I'm throwing my pro motion and get around it from there, it probably sits there. This one keeps me a little bit more honest. And so I think that's what's kept it out of the bag, is that with the asymmetric stuff, it's going to be firmer on the back, and there's not any of this, you know, if you tug it, it's going to sit there because it doesn't have enough torque. It's one of those, if you miss it in the friction, or if you get slow with it, get a little bit too much hand in it, it's going to go. Sometimes that's, sometimes people need the extra help. I don't necessarily need the extra. All right, I'm gonna get a little bit deeper here, and then we're gonna move on to something else. Probably the outcry. We're gonna do the outcry next. That's just a bad break. You just don't pay any attention to that. You pick up the spare and you move on. It happens. That was a good shot. I fell off of it a little bit, but it came off my hand really good. Again, just walking a little bit too fast. And that's something, if I slid, I wouldn't get away. That would probably be something that I'm not noticing. So with me planting lefty, I can really tell when I get fast, because I go up there and stop. So if I'm walking too fast, I'm gonna know that. That's the one thing about that core too, is like I said, it's a little bit directional. That one I was definitely better with my feet. Got a little bit up the back of it, but that's adding angle on the left side kind of results in that with pretty well most balls anyway. And then if I don't get around this ball, especially the deeper I get, it does want to not necessarily straighten out, but the angles do get a little bit steep. And remember, this is still not the strongest cover out there. It's a strong core, and it's a very dynamic look, but it's also kind of a medium to low strength cover core. That one added just a little bit of tilt, and that kind of blended the end out a little bit better. A little bit of tilt threw it better. Normally helps. So sometimes those flat hits can either tell you it really wasn't as good as you thought it was, you're in the wrong ball, you're in the wrong part of the lane, and it's just experience that really tells you which one of those it is. So it's one of those things that gets me when people watch videos and they see one hit bad, and it's kind of like, oh God, that ball hit terrible, that ball sucks. It's like, well, no, there's a difference between a bad ball and bad execution. That's why I tend to remove a lot of the poor execution shots out of the videos, because most of the time people just misread them. If it's a good shot and it just either hooks enough or hooks a little bit too much or doesn't hook enough, that's one thing. But if it's just a bad shot, and that was a terrible shot, but those things kind of perk your ears up a little bit. It's like, okay, so I've got an extra 2 boards outside that I didn't necessarily think I had from these angles. And if coming up the back of it or keeping it closer to the pocket makes it flat, well, let's take a look there. We're gonna move a couple boards right with my feet and get around it just a little bit more. Didn't get around that one at all. ball, but it still looked good. That was a bad shot. I did get the tilt I wanted, but I didn't get anywhere near the amount of side or the angle of rotation I wanted. But my head is still programmed to not, this is a pretty strong ball, so, don't get around it, don't throw it left. And so I'm trying to reverse that and trying to get around it and throw it left. Grabbing the crap out of it. And see, that's something that I'm trying to get around it. Well, I ended up, flapping my wrist and grabbing the crap out of it, which I'm not trying to do. But anytime I try to add a little bit to it, my hand gets flappy and my feet get fast. And that was more a product of my feet getting fast because my hand got to the line way before my feet did. So I let go of it late, I got way around it. So I just need to slow my feet down. It's the only thing I ever need to do, it seems. That was way too slow. This is something where I know exactly what I'm trying to do, but if I don't do it very often, I don't know what it's supposed to feel like. And so this is kind of the frustration when I've been out of tournaments or something where I've had to kind of move outside my comfort zone. I know what I'm supposed to be doing, where I'm supposed to be standing, what it's supposed to look like. I don't yet know what it's supposed to feel like to get to happen what I want to happen. Alright, there we go. I think we're done with the Rubicon now. I finally figured out what I was trying to do. I just needed to keep the ball in a little bit better, but that's exactly what I was trying to do, so. Alright, so the Outcry was Roto Grip ball from 2015, I believe, is one that I never got to throw. I always thought it looked really cool. That's the layout. Just 5 inch pin by 2.5 pin buffer, I believe. So I never got to throw it because the first year I was on staff in 2015, I was Storm only. I was advisory staff, so I couldn't throw any of the Roto Grip stuff. That's the year that the Outcry and the Haywire and the Menace came out, I believe. So I never got to throw any of those. But I did get my wife one. I really liked the way that it looked. I think the core numbers are like 255, 035 or something like that. So it's a higher RG, but kind of a medium lower differential. So it's something that's going to get down the lane, but also control the back end a little bit more. We've seen stuff like the Winners that are like 255, 050, or the end 254, 255, 040 something, or the High Roads are 257, 050, or 046 or something. So we don't see a lot of these medium differentials anymore. This is more of I got this one from Kenan McFalls. Thanks again, Kenan. To use as more of a control ball in tournaments when I kind of need to play the rail, play further outside with something sanded and kind of blendy. But something that's not going to, start up super early. I want smooth down lane, but I don't want something that's going to roll up my toes like a IQ or a Hustle would be. Haven't gotten to throw this one a whole lot yet, so this is more of a finding out exactly what it does type thing. I've taken it to a couple tournaments and thrown it a couple times in practice. It hasn't really been the look, or I've had something else that looked better and not being, comfortable with it or really knowing, understanding it yet. So this we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out what I got here. Very kind of tumbly and rolly, but it clears the fronts pretty good because it's got a higher RG and it doesn't really do much down lane. So it's kind of a longer Omega Crux Insight type idea. Supposed to kind of get down the lane further and just kind of roll off the spot. The 5-inch pin puts with that only the 035 diff or whatever it is, keeps the flare rings really close. Dump the crap out of it. Walking too fast again. This is where I'm starting where I kind of normally start with everything. And I think my head's already a little bit worried about it. If I do throw a decent shot, it's gonna hook. Even though I throw a good shot and it looks perfect. So there is that. Once again, sorry if I'm not answering questions. They only come onto the screen one at a time. I forgot my laptop, so.
What's up, Larry? Hello. All right, good. Jesse? I got you. Mind if I take the password? No, I'm on that.
All got stuck, but the trusty GM, Mr. Jesse Bowers, on the case. I didn't have to call anybody. I don't know if you can see this or not on the camera, but that's where the oil rings are very, very close together. They're not quite on top of each other. You can see that there's a little bit of separation there, very, very close together. So the bow ties, once you get closer, they're going to overlap. So that's kind of hard to see if we're not in the blue here, but once they go to overlap, there's not a whole lot of extra cover seeing the lane. So that's going to help control it down lane. Thanks, Jesse. And that's just another uncomfortable dump. See, and those are the kind of shots that I would take out of a video because that says nothing about the ball reaction. It's just a bad shot because I'm uncomfortable and don't really know what to expect yet. That's what my head was expecting. That's why I kept dumping it, because I threw that one good and it just didn't get there. So now don't mistake this for hook. It's got a higher RG, so it's going to get down the lane further. So I've been throwing really low RG, really strong core stuff that's going to start up earlier. And even though there's extra torque down lane, it's still getting started up earlier. It's still getting more traction. Something like this that doesn't have a whole lot of traction gets down the lane easier. It's going to be a whole lot more responsive down lane, and there's a lot of people that are, that mistake that for hook or traction. moved 2 boards right there. Once again, I kept I'm still looking at 5 or 6. It doesn't matter. On the house shot here, on house shots most places, where I'm standing, I'm not going to move 2 and 1 or 3 and 2 or any nonsense like that. I'm going to be looking at the 5 or 6 board no matter where I'm standing. Got that one back from 3, so that's cool. So if we were on a condition with more volume outside, this ball is gonna, the couple times I've tried to throw it, it's kind of skated and wiggled where the stuff with the stronger cores still pull up. So I moved in a little bit, and now it's looking a whole lot better. I'm a whole lot more comfortable. So I've moved away from earlier friction really more than anything, because this ball is going to want to be more responsive because of the core. Having a higher RG, so it's going to get further down the lane. And let's see, it's a hybrid. It's like 55 ml or something like that. I'm walking too fast again. So again, that RG is going to want to make it. It's a little bit punchier on the back end than I was expecting, just because it does have. It's not flaring very much at all. It's got kind of a medium-ish low differential, but again, it's got a weaker cover stock, and it's got a higher RG, both of which are going to want to make it clear the front super fast. And so when it gets down lane, it's got all that energy it hasn't used any of yet to make a move. So. Again, in a higher volume situation, lower end balls are designed to react like higher end balls on lower volume conditions. So if we were to get onto a higher volume condition that's more designed for something like a Rubicon or an Astrophysics, then those balls are still going to look pretty good, and this one's going to look fairly weak. That was just another bad shot. I got it outside way too quick. I think I'm getting a little rev happy here too. This is what I've been doing lately, is kind of trying to slow roll it. And I'm trying to get away from that, but I'm expecting this to be a little bit smoother reaction. So I think I'm getting a little bit too much of it at the bottom. So just kind of floating out of it and letting it roll. Because I think if I go back and watch this later, I'm going to see a whole lot softer hand when I was first throwing the Astro and the Rubicon. That was better. Now the ball reaction's pretty good. I really like the ball reaction. I've just got to, it's one of those things where I've got to put some time in with it and figure out where it's going to be good at, what situations it's going to be good at. And something else you have to remember too is that there's a big difference between fresh cover, which I only had like 2 games on this ball before now, and getting a cover broken in, again, like a softball bat, baseball glove, whatever else. You got to give it a chance for the new to wear off before you find out what you really have. So anybody that, lists a ball for sale, it's like, well, I've only got 2 games on it. It didn't really fit my game. That's stupid.
Right.
So as I get some more games on it, the back end move is going to tame down a little bit. Same thing happened with my Tornado Pearl. I was hooking the lane with that thing, and then it got a little bit of shine on it. Cover was still pretty new, and so it turned into a boomerang. I just couldn't get it to the pocket. When I did, it wouldn't strike. And so I about gave up on it. The very last time that I was going to take it out and give it a chance, I shot 300 with it. So it's been in the bag ever since. So I think I'm about done with the outcry. The out, I'm still going to need to put some more time in it, but more dedicated time, off of the live stream. Put in a specific, hour or 2 with it. Obviously, it's still pretty sweet, though. That's one that I was always bummed out that I missed on, because this is when Roto-Grip started making really crazy good stuff. I mean, they made some, the Wrecker and whatever else, but the Outcry, the Wrecker, that's when they started, and then, the Haywire was a huge release. They made some good stuff before, but this is when they really kind of punched through and made their mark. Not the greatest shot, but and I think the cover just to slow down a little bit. I think once the cover gets broken in, then I'll have a better idea what I'm actually dealing with here. Because if you go back and watch the reviews, that Astro and the Rubicon were quite a bit punchier, stronger down lane than they are now that I've got, 30, 40 games on each one of them. All right, I'll throw one more and then I'll move on to my overseas collection. One more good one. Just because they strike doesn't mean that they're good. That was terrible. But I got away with it. the footwork wasn't great, but I throw it pretty good, so I call it quits on the outcry. Obviously, it looks pretty good, so it just needs more time on that cover. And again, drilling it. What I did by drilling a pin up was I dropped the RG down a little bit, so I think it's 255 or 256. So I probably took it down to 253-ish, and also raises the differential. So at 035, I probably took it up to 038, 039, something like that. So I did make the reaction a little bit stronger, but I didn't quite with that high. If I would have gone like pin down, then all of a sudden I'm taking the RG from 255 to 257-ish, and the differential down to, 030, 031. I didn't necessarily want to kill it. So we're going to start off with one that I have thrown a decent amount. Probably got 20, 25 games on it. This is the Phase Zero. Basically what it is the phase core, the velocity core with the Sherlock cover. It's GI-17, I'm pretty sure. Now this is an interesting layout for me because I tried to go pin down. So what this is, but it's still a fairly strong pin down. I think that's like 4 3/4, 4.5 pin down. Might be 5 inches pin down. I can't remember exactly. I think it's 4 3/4. But this is going to raise the RG. It's going to lower the differential. But with a stronger type of pin placement, it's going to make it more continuous. So I get the continuous shape through the pins without the overwhelming strength or the early reaction that I'd have if I'd have gone pin up. That's just my standard. That's where I start, and we're going to see what this ball does. So that shot there was definitely strong. It did clear the fronts pretty good. It does have some lane shine on it, though. This isn't fresh out of box cover. Like I said, I've used this a handful of times. Okay, so again, the velocity core in 15 pounds is 248.051, I believe. So by going pin down, I probably raised the RG to 251-ish, 252, and dropped the differential to 045-ish or something. With the layout, you're not going to change a whole bunch. You're kind of, unless you get super, super crazy with them, you're more just kind of adjusting. You're not necessarily changing. So we moved a couple boards right on that one. It's still too much boom. But oh, holy crap! What's the question? Let's heckin' strikes for the dog rescue. Thanks, Evan. Heck yeah. It did pop that up, so much appreciated. Mr. Raffini is he's my Bowling Labs guy. He's the one that designed the t-shirt that I'm wearing. So he's the one that designed the Panda Pack patch and got all my hoodies, t-shirts, whatever else into production. We're trying to work on something. We're trying to work on something else to get some more stuff out there for the summer. But thanks, Evan. Really appreciate it. So what I got with this ball is kind of exactly what I wanted, because again, going pin down allows me to use a stronger pin position, which is going to make the ball more continuous without it being so early. So for anybody that says that, you know, pin down makes the ball earlier and smoother, I mean, come on.
Who were you talking to earlier? Were you talking to Mr. Larry earlier?
So I'm continuing to kind of inch right a little bit here. But right away, I'm really liking what I'm seeing. Really, really liking what I'm seeing. Feet got a little fast, but I am throwing it a little bit better here because it's not that I don't feel like I have to get it down the lane, because obviously I haven't gotten it down the lane once yet. But it's so continuous that I feel like I can just kind of get inside of it and just let it go. Let it eat, let it chew, whatever you want to. This one, the scent is blueberry. We don't get blueberry here a whole bunch, and this is, again, it's a Miss Potato Head kind of version of, like, gosh, if you could put this core and this cover together.
Oh, got both of them.
Jordan too?
No, not Jordan. Drew. Kevin.
That was pretty okay. But, you know, again, the Sherlock cover I always felt was kind of like the NEX cover is now. It's a whole bunch of shape for how much traction it has too. Yeah, that ball's a heckin' sickness. And again, going pin down gets the ball down the lane further because it raises the RG. It drops the differential a little bit, so it kind of tightens up the flare lines. It reduces the overall track flare. So it makes it a little bit longer, a little bit tamer. But again, like I said, it allows you to use a stronger pin position to make the ball more continuous. Touching the camera again. Feet got a little fast, but oh. What does your shirt say? It's funny you should ask with the, I don't know if you can see this. I can't see what you can actually see. It says heckin' urethane. And Mr. Evan Raffini, who just so graciously donated, is the guy that took care of it. I had an idea, I sent it to him, and he took care of everything else. He got it mocked up, got it into production, and luke.bowlinglabs.com is where you can find it. Along with hoodies and zip-up jackets. slow with that one. Huh. Can I bowl two-handed? Technically, yes. Realistically, no. And we're going to nationals the last 2 days of the tournament, July 17th and 18th. And that was just a dump. Not going to try the split because I'm practicing doing some arsenal evaluation. This isn't a spare practice day. If it was, I wouldn't be streaming because that'd be really boring. Now, like I was talking about earlier, I just shimmed the crap out of it and it sat there. My pinup stuff would not have done that. It would have dug in and probably gone Brooklyn. Alright, not sure how much camera battery I have left here, so I'm probably going to get out of this one and go on to the next couple. One more good shot here. Close enough. So that one, I already kind of knew what I had, but as you can see, it's pretty strong, so that's why I haven't really been throwing it. Once again, phase 0, heckenurethane. Phase 0 international ball. It's the phase core, the velocity core with the Sherlock cover, which is GI-17, I'm pretty sure. So I might have to drill more pin down stuff because that looks heckin' awesome. Next, we're going to throw something that I don't have a whole lot of games on. It's the Marvel Max Force. Just NRG Pearl as the cover stock, so it's basically the IQ Tornado Pearl cover, just polished on the centripetal core from the Marvel series. Fragrance is ginger, and I did drill this kind of my standard 5-inch pin up, 2.5-inch pin buffer. So this one, however, has been a little bit long and straight, but again, the pinup layout drops the RG and raises the differential, so it makes it roll sooner and boom more. And that's not necessarily a good thing, but we'll see what happens here. It's pretty good, but it's really strong. So once again, starting out in the same place where I've been starting out the rest of the time. There, obviously, I've been bowling for an hour and 15 minutes here, but I've been talking for most of that, so I don't really feel any lane transition yet. Nothing too crazy. but I'm starting where I've been starting with everything else. That one I got in just a little bit, but again, I think as I've been going here, my rev rate's been getting higher and higher, and that's something I was trying to practice on not doing. Because there's an abundance of ball reaction on the left side of the lane. You just have to get it there. There's no reason to... All it does is cause problems unless you're two-handed and playing fourth area. See how easy that was? Way too fast with my arm. And that's what happens normally when I'm trying to hook it more. My feet get fast, and when I try to hook it less, my arm gets fast. That ball's waking up a little bit. So I'm probably going to have to move in. Again, it's a really strong ball. It's a really strong cover. And I think a lot of people don't, because of how smooth the Tornado Pearl is, they don't quite understand how strong this cover is. Very rolly, very chuggy. A lot different from the E-Trax and R2S Pearl covers that we're used to. See where even though this is symmetric, my astrophysics is asymmetric, where I'm playing right now is deeper than was comfortable with my Astro, and I've really taken a lot of hand out of it here. I know there's a little bit of traction on the lanes here, and I might actually move over this other lane just to kind of compare some stuff as soon as we've gone through all the balls here. Just really strong ball, and it's more in a lot of ball strength comes from the ball slowing down quicker. If a weaker, more responsive cover is not getting traction, if it's hydroplaning on the oil, it's going to want to, sustain its speed because there's no barrier to other than momentum. There's no barrier to it continuing its speed. So if it's not getting any grab or any traction through the oil, it's going to, retain its speed easier. Something that is getting through the oil and getting traction is going to grab. It's going to naturally slow the ball down. So as the ball slows down, it's just going to hook it. So this way, this is why we don't see, this is why we don't see a lot of these covers here is because Chad's told me before, it kind of fights against what people expect out of a Pearl ball. You know, you think Pearl, you're thinking astrophysics, UC2, stuff like that. You're not nuclear cell. You're not thinking early, slow, and chugging. But it's a very, very useful reaction to have, as we've seen here, especially recently with the Zen. The Zen acts more like a polished solid or a lane shine solid than it does like a Pearl ball. I need practice. So bad.
Yeah. We're gonna see Ben when I go to Nashville Friday.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Alright, so I still really haven't gotten this ball to the pocket yet. So far, this is the strongest reaction I've had, and again, we'll probably, as soon as I get through the halo burn here, this one and the halo burn, we'll move over to the fresh lane and compare kind of side by side and see exactly what we have. I'm kind of, again, I'm still practicing on other things. I'm practicing on keeping my feet slow, getting out of the ball smooth without like dumping it. And I actually kind of found something here. I'm giving it too much wrist, I think. So I need to be a little bit snappier with it. This is something for you PWBA fans out there, what they've been talking about, what Kelly Kulik's been going through here recently. She was always concentrating on getting out of the ball smooth, not grabbing it. But her swing was getting a little long, or her follow-through was getting long. She was kind of, just being too soft with it into the lane instead of kind of snapping it and really catching it without, grabbing it. So,
What's to tell you your batteries are 50%?
yeah, so.
All right.
Just got a battery report. I can't see what my phone battery's at since I've been streaming for an hour and a half here. I was doing a heckin' concern. I mean, so you see just how relentlessly strong this thing is. But this is what I'm talking about with the Kelly Kulik thing. She was getting too soft, and so the ball was kind of lame ducking down the lane rather than her getting, kind of the difference between somebody that really gets out of the ball slow versus somebody that gets out of it quick, like Bill O'Neill. Bill O'Neill snaps it at the bottom, but he doesn't grab it. So that's kind of the idea. But whenever I try to take hand out of it, I tend to get really long with my swing and kind of just lay it out there too soft. I want to get out of it quicker so that I'm not slowing the balls down so much. That helps ball reaction quite a bit, and that's where you get hits like that from. When somebody's throwing pins around and tripping 4s or 6s or whatever that pin is over there, it's because they've gotten out of it more cleanly. It's a really hard concept to explain when you're just trying to kind of get out of it soft. The ball just kind of, it never really gets into a roll. It just kind of labors out there, and whatever ball reaction you get from the ball is great. But if you get to the bottom and you snap it off, it's like a well-executed golf shot, where it's better to take a half swing or a 3/4 swing than a full swing and try to be softer with it, if that makes any sense. If you just go on ahead and take a shorter swing but still snap through like you're supposed to, you end up getting a cleaner, it's a cleaner ball strike than if you take a really long swing and just try to soften everything up. And you get this kind of lazy, lackadaisical half flight. So this is a little bit different than what I thought I had with this ball. Again, when I drilled this several months ago, while I was still kind of developing and practicing and learning and whatever else, and I hadn't really gotten in that deep, and so I was trying to stay straighter, lay out of it, and get it to the pocket. Well, obviously, with as strong as this ball is, I have to just give it the supreme ultimate dump to get it to the pocket from straight. No way it's getting down the lane, and so I would have to kind of come up the back of it. When I come up the back of it, it hits friction and kind of straightens out. Obviously, now that I'm executing better, it's not hitting the spot and straightening out. It's giving me everything I can handle here. See, and as soon as I say that, so I've thrown some bad shots, I've had some dead hits, I've had some flat hits, I've had some weak mixer 10s and whatever else, but as soon as I've still been practicing form the entire time here. I'm looking at the balls, still practicing my form here. As soon as I start throwing the ball better, I start getting the hits. Now, I present to you the weakest 7-pin you've ever seen in your life right after I say that. Or I'm going to 5-7-10 or a 7-9 or something stupid. Well, I'm going to throw it bad, but still get him down anyway. That should have been a packy fist pump right there. Yeah, so as soon as I'm probably going to be done with this ball here pretty quick, we're going to take a look at the Halo Burn, and then I'm going to move on to the fresh lane and throw them all kind of back to back to back to back just to make sure that I'm not missing any reads here, because I have been practicing for a while. There is some transition out there. So I want to make sure by going to a fresh lane that I'm not getting faked out. So yeah, that ball's a monster. Probably been getting back into bowling this past month. I got 2 new balls, both are Motive. Your channel's been helpful, so you earned my sub, sir. Really appreciate it. Motive's making some great stuff here too, and my buddy Jonathan Hawes that I do the Rise and Grinds with, he's on Motive's staff, so whenever we're out practicing sometime, we're going to set up some little practices, a little bit of coaching, something else, so you'll probably be able to even get to see a few of his balls on my channel. So I am on staff with Storm. I'm sponsored by Storm, so most of the stuff you're going to see, or all the stuff you're going to see on this channel is Storm, Roto, and 900 Global when I start getting sent stuff. I'm going to try one more good shot. I think I've struck like twice with this ball. No, I got a couple trip 6s. Yeah, that was my point about throwing it good. I got around that one quite a bit. So anyway, I'll throw one more good shot, and then I'll move on to the Halo Burn. And the Halo Burn's interesting because it's Microtrax Pearl. I think it's Microtrax P18 even. So Microtrax is Rotogrip's version of NRG. I think the formula is a little stronger from what I understand. I could be completely wrong though. This illustrates another point that I was just saying about the difference between the pin down drilling on the Phase Zero and the pin up drilling on this ball. Even though the Phase Zero is solid, this one's a pearl. NRG pearl is really, really smooth, so it's not typical pearl stuff. So again, if I have a pin up ball and I get it inside at all, it's gone. Just period. It doesn't matter, you know, what it is, what surface, whatever else. If I get it in, it's gone. Pin down drilling is going to make the ball a little bit longer, a little bit blendier. So I have a better chance of getting away with misses in with pin down stuff than I do with pin up stuff. However, the pin up stuff makes the ball earlier, stronger, more dynamic overall. And so if I get it out, there's a whole lot better chance of getting the ball back with power and strength and just getting it back, period, the pin up ball versus the pin down ball. I think we're just a little too steep for that ball now, but it doing a heckin' hooking. So, now we're gonna move to the Halo Burn. This one, the Halo Burn is special to me because it's one of the first overseas balls that I got. And I think I was even gifted this by Mr. Tani Shabani. Congratulations on getting your rooster back, Tani. But I thought that this was just the coolest ball I'd ever seen. I really wanted one, and he was a fan of the channel, and I talked to him a bunch, answered some questions, whatever else, and so he sent it to me. So I drilled this one for the right side of the lane. I used it a bunch. Really liked it, made some money with it. But when I switched over to left-handed, I had a bunch of overseas stuff, expensive overseas stuff, drilled right-handed. And I'm like, okay, well, I can either sell these, which I don't want to do, or I can let them sit here until they crack. I'm not really the biggest fan of plugging bowling balls, but for this one, and I did it on a couple, and it really worked out. And so, since I'm so good at plugging bowling balls, I don't really mind. Thumb came out just a little dark. But matching pink is very tough. Fingers came out pretty good. I mean, you can hardly, the fingers were right here. The pin is actually in my ring finger here. So this was a pin down, a fairly aggressive PSA location. So it was pinned down, fairly aggressive mass bias. Plug job came out okay. So this is basically an asymmetric pearl version of the Marvel Max Force, because NRG Pearl on the Marvel Max Force that I was just throwing, and Microtrax P18, very similar formula, basically base formula. I think there's some, like I said, I think Roto's formula is a little bit stronger, but I need to throw a shot. Anyway, this is a pearl version of the Marvel Max, kind of, somewhat. It's got the Halo, the Centrum core from the Halo series in it. Now with it being pin in the pin is in the ring finger, which I think is a 4 3/4 inch pin for me. It's still, everything else is the same, so I think it's 4 3. Well, no, it's 4 3/4 by 3.5 by like 3.5, because putting the pin in my ring finger changed the pin buffer about an inch. So I think this kind of splits the difference between pin up and pin down. So instead of pin down really, making it longer and slower versus pin up making it earlier and more dynamic, this kind of splits the difference. It's a little bit more of a neutral layout when I'm not really trying to accomplish something specific with the layout. So you can see that obviously versus the Marvel Max Force, this ball is weaker. Part of it's the layout. Part of it is just the kind of weaker. It's not necessarily a weaker pin position, but it is, closer to pin up or closer to. Again, it's kind of in the middle between pin up and pin down, so it's a little bit weaker pin buffer than the Marvel Max Force, even though the pin position is a little bit stronger, 4 3/4 versus 5. Speeding the foots up. So again, this one is one that I had, like I said, right-handed, that I threw a bunch. So I'm really, really familiar with this ball on the right side of the lane. I like the cover, and I like this specific cover formula because it is stronger. It is stronger. It is earlier. It is smoother versus the traditional stuff that we get a lot of over here. That's a lot snappier. People like to see ball motion more than effective ball motion, I guess. So we're definitely going to have to move it again. And again, I haven't thrown this ball for a while. So once you throw a ball, I haven't thrown it a whole lot on the left side, actually, either, because it's been too strong so far. So it does kind of it needs some games on it to kind of develop a track and wake it up a little bit. So it's going to, as I'm throwing shots here, it's going to get stronger and stronger. Because it doesn't really have a track on the left side of the ball yet, so. So this one's a little, I don't know, it's hard to, it feels a little bit longer up front, feels a little bit sharper down lane. This is when you get into your fine ball motion reading skills. A little bit longer, a little bit sharper, but a little bit rounder too. And the round shape can kind of throw you off of the quickness a little bit. Again, I just caught myself shooting my rev rate through the ceiling. So. Short-armed it. So yeah, I'm trying to be soft with it, trying to get out of it clean at the same time. But again, my arm wants to get there way too quick instead of waiting on it. But with being this straight, I'm concerned. My head's concerned about the ball hooking too much, so I'm trying to. My head's trying to kind of get on autopilot and say, no, we just need to get out of the ball. We just need to get out of the ball. As soon as we slow down and focus on executing a good shot, that was pretty good. It's amazing what slowing down, throwing a good shot will do. instead of just trying to rip the cover off, which most people try to rip the cover off now. All they want to see is ball reaction. They don't want to see necessarily good ball motion. So that one wasn't too different from the last shot that struck. I got around it just a little bit more, but again, the cover's waking up. It feels like it's easier through the fronts in the Marvel Max Force. I do have the PSAs in a really strong spot. So with kind of still on the, 4 3/4 is nosing towards a pretty strong pin location. It's not crazy strong, but it's getting stronger. This might be a perfect time to move to lane 8. Yeah, I think there's a pin setter. He said it did down this way, so we're going to move to the fresh lane anyway. So this is a perfect segue into that. If I can find a good spot for the camera. I don't want to set it on the. Last time I set it up on the monitor, it always goes nutso when the ball comes back. Always shakes the living crap out of it. So we're going to get all the balls back out that we had here. And we're going to compare them side by side to see exactly what we're working with. Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm gonna switch to the other lane, so. All right, so I'm going to start with the Astro here again. I'm going to bring the Astro back out. We're going to throw one shot. I'm going to try to throw them as good as possible, but we'll see here. No promises. Let me know about the camera angle. I can adjust it if I need to. Alright, 1 for 1 on good shots. That's pretty cool. So that's what the Astro does. Once again, it compared to all the other stuff that I've been throwing here, very, very easy lane. I'm pretty comfortable getting out of that one soft because I know it's going to both get down the lane and make a pretty good motion into the pocket while still being controllable at the same time. So I think that's why stuff like the Code Black, the Astrophysics, UC2, all that stuff has been really popular because you don't have to really shove it or push it or throw it to get it down the lane. You can put a nice, easy, shot on it, it glides down there, and then it turns sideways. So we'll throw that one more time. Just kind of reinforce the look. Should have just thrown another ball. That's always what happens. Now I got to throw it again. Camera angle okay? Everybody can see things well, assuming. See me tugging the crap out of it. Try this one more time. Try to throw a good shot. Focus on actually throwing a good shot. Whatever, I guess that reacted good. It's kind of weird that as I continue to bowl, my hand actually shrinks, so I'm having a little trouble hanging on to stuff now. But that's basically what I'm trying to do. That's the astrophysics. So I'm going to throw. See, I'm going to throw the Rubicon next. The original Rubicon, not the UC2. OG Rubicon. Same. I'm going to try the same shot on the same line. Again, heckin' attempts. I only missed by like 3 right or 3 left, I guess. Most people's thumb swells. Most people's thumb swell. Mine doesn't. It shrinks and everything. I have a crazy high metabolism, so it's probably I've just been bowling here for an hour and a half solid, so burning heck of calories. Realistically, on a similar shot, they're pretty close. The Astrophysics has a bit stronger core. The Rubicon has a bit stronger cover. But realistically, they're pretty close. Throw one more shot. Try to throw it good. I'm kind of olaying it again. I'm not really snapping it at the bottom like I was talking about. There's the shot I was trying to throw. See, again, like I was talking about, the shot making gets a little bit off and the ball reaction gets a little bit off, but when you commit to and, snap through the shot without grabbing it, the motion just looks a whole lot better. So, realistically speaking, from the same spot, Astrophysics strike looks pretty good. Rubicon 4-pin, that makes a ton of sense. Rubicon just a little bit earlier and smoother, a bit stronger overall. So, did I say 4-pin? I meant 6-pin. I still don't know the lefty stuff, the lefty lingo yet. So, we're going to go to the phase 0 now because that's kind of the closest to what we were just working with. This is going to be more responsive, so I would expect this one to be, if I throw it decent, I probably won't throw it decent because I'm expecting a big 4 or the ball going right through the nose. But we'll see. So it should, because I've got it pinned down, it's going to get a little bit longer down the lane. Now it should be a little bit rounder down the lane, but at the same time, it's conserving energy too. The pin down layout is helping it get down the lane further and conserve energy. Okay, so that wasn't the greatest shot in the world, but it was kind of on line, so that makes sense. It still got down the lane pretty easy, but it was a little bit more responsive down lane because it's using less energy in the front part of the lane and saving more for the back part of the lane. So this all makes sense, even though, again, like I said, most people think of pin down as earlier and smoother. Well, it's not earlier. It is smoother. But again, at the same time, you're raising the RG. It makes the ball wind up, rev up slower. It makes it get further down the lane before it does what it does, which means it's also going to conserve energy. So it can sound like an oxymoron, or inconsistent, I guess. We throw this one more time. So that's what that one's going to do. I probably have to move, I don't know, 2 or 3 right with my feet to get that one to the pocket. The Rubicon, I probably would have just had to move 1 right to get that to the pocket. This one's probably going to take a 2 or 3 board move. But again, like I said earlier, got a stronger pin position on. I think it's 4 3/4 or 4 1/2. Help the ball be more continuous. And I can get away with that because I've gone pinned down. Now I'm going to throw the outcry. This one I'm expecting to boom even more. We'll cover more boards than the rest of them because it's a medium volume. It's like a 21 mil house shot, 19, 20, 21 mil. This ball it's got a higher RG. It's got kind of a medium differential. It is drilled pin up, so I made it a little bit stronger. But again, it's a more responsive bowling ball, so it's going to skid through the front part of the lane a whole lot easier, and have more energy retention down lane. Okay, so I put a little bit of extra speed on that. I did throw it pretty good. Only got about a 7.5 on the balance there. I gotta slow my feet down, but I'm concerned about the ball getting down the lane, so that's why I'm still kind of running up there. But again, since I don't slide, it really lets me know when my foot speed gets fast. So try it again, one more time here. And this is nothing but subconscious control right here. I tug the ball because I'm like, I'm way too straight, and so I definitely do not want to hit the 5 board. I definitely don't want to hit the 5 board because it's just going to stop. And so that was just a 100% tug because I'm trying to get the ball down. This is right where I start to question here, because I am ridiculously uncomfortable with this ball. Just ridiculously painfully uncomfortable because I keep dumping it because I'm just afraid if I get around, there's too much check, there's too much ball motion that way. So if I just get out of it and throw a decent shot and get around it, it's just never going to get down the lane. That was about the best I can throw it, and I did have to move several boards inside with that ball. But again, it's more responsive. People will look at this and say, okay, why is a low end ball hooking more than a Rubicon, an Astrophysics, or a Phase Zero? It's not hooking, it's responding. There's more energy retention, there's more energy saved So it's not going to get any traction earlier. It's not going to get any grab. It's not going to get any read. The Outcry is going to hydroplane for 30 feet, and then as soon as it sniffs friction, it's got 30 feet worth of energy to unload. So as I move in with that ball, that was a whole lot better shot too. It's still hooked, but I feel more comfortable executing a decent shot where if I'm any further left, I have to just dump it. I have to dump it, I have to flag it, I have to just get out crazy quick just to get it down. But again, still, new cover. I've got maybe, with the games that I've thrown on it today, I've got maybe 4 or 5 games on it. So, still pretty strong ball. So, pretty strong ball. I think we figured out the Outcry. I just need more games on it to tame that cover down before I really know what I've got. Looks pretty good though. All right, now we're going to see if the Marvel Max Force is indeed as strong on the other lane. All right, so this one kind of bridges the gap between actual strength and responsiveness. The NRG pearl cover is really strong, but also pearlized and polished. It's still got a decent amount of shape to it, but it is getting traction a little bit earlier. It is rolling a little bit stronger, a little bit earlier, so it's going to use up more energy in the front part of the lane, slow the ball down a little bit, blend things out a little bit better than that outcome. So we're going to move in. Apparently get it all the way back from the 2 board, but I mean, this is what I was talking about earlier too. Out earlier is that the pinup stuff is going to recover better. I'm not going to get, you know, as you've seen with the Outcry and all the other stuff that I've thrown here, I'm going to get more forgiveness in the middle of the lane with that phase 0 than I am with any of my pinup stuff. However, if I get the pinup stuff outside, it's rolling sooner, it's rolling heavier, it's rolling stronger, it's more dynamic, and so there's a whole lot better chance for a pinup ball to get back from Mrs. Outside versus hold on Mrs. Inside. So yeah, it is every bit as strong as it looked on the other lane. So I was getting some. There's a little bit of transition on the other lane, but not much. So now that I'm in a little bit deeper, that one, my timing, everything was a whole lot better because I'm not just rushing up there trying to chuck the ball down the lane. I'm able to stay slower and just execute a better shot because I'm not fighting ball reaction. So yeah, so I feel a lot more comfortable in here because I can just kind of get through it, stay slow. I don't have to worry about chucking it, tossing it. And it even helps me be a little bit slower with my hand too, because I can snap it at the bottom without like revving the crap out of it, but I can get through it good. Which if you get through it good, it's going to be more responsive down at the back end of the lane. It's like a well-struck golf ball. It just zings. Flies truer, transfers more energy into the bowling ball. So yeah, once again, this is the Halo Burn, I think, is technically the strongest ball that I've got here. The Phase Zero has the strongest cover stock, but it's a symmetric core. NRG is a little bit weaker than GI-17, if I remember on the chart. The Rubicon and Astrophysics have stronger cores, but they have kind of medium strength cover stock. Each rack are kind of medium strength covers. They're pretty responsive, but they get down the lane easier and then they boom more down lane. See, again, I got that one in just a little bit, but I was trying to kind of roll it, feed it to the spot, and that just doesn't work with pinup stuff. It just doesn't. On the left side of the lane, anyway. I mean, on the right side of the lane, if I was bowling on the right side right now, that would have been a flat 10 or a mixer or something. On the left side of the lane, it just stops and goes sideways. So again, the 5 or the 6. Get it to the 5 or the 6 board. It'll hit the pocket, I promise. Unless you're trying to throw it straight up the 5 or the 6 board. In which case, it might hit the pocket, it'll just be the other one. One more good shot with this one. I'm really liking this one. I can't get it down the lane. Haven't struck with it very much. I really like the way that it rolls. And then when a whole lot of game, as I continue to throw it, it'll slow down. It'll kind of break that hoss on it. Slow down, get a little bit smoother, a little bit more controllable. It still have the same general overall shape, but I'm liking this one quite a bit more now than I was when I drilled it. There was the best shot of the day. That one felt pretty good. I still feel like I'm pretty square with my shoulders to the line, so I feel like I'm kind of shoving it or shoveling it left rather than kind of getting my swing path in line with the kind of the ball motion track. So that one I think is going to come to league on Thursday, just to see. I think the Phase Zero is gonna make it in there too. Probably too strong, but we'll see. I've been swinging the Insight the last couple weeks, so. All right, now we're gonna go to the Halo Burn. Once again, a very similar cover stock formula to what was just on the Max Force that we threw. A stronger core, but I did drill them a little bit different. The Marvel Max Force is 5-inch pin to pin up, and this is 4 3/4 pin and ring. So this one should be a little bit more continuous rather than anything else, really. Go back to where I started with. that's where I started with all the rest of the stuff. What am I standing on? 5, 10, 15. I'm standing on 16. And just looking at trying to get it to the 5 or 6 board at 40 feet is really what I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to let it walk out to the spot. That one I moved in a little bit on because it's just gonna be too strong from straighter. So I moved into 19 there. So I moved 3 boards with my feet. Probably gonna move a couple more, but I'm still looking at 5 or 6 down lane because if I don't get it out there, it's not gonna get down the lane. The left side. So I was pretty happy with that shot. I moved another 2 right, so I moved to 21 with my feet. Again, I have no idea where it's crossing at the dots or the arrows or anything else. The only thing that matters is where I'm standing and the 5 or the 6 board. But this ball's freaking sweet. That's all I can say. This is probably the best rolling one so far. I learned to throw it like Rob now that he's... Yeah, Rob's got the big wheels out. YouTube. I don't throw these a whole lot, and so season's kind of over, and I've got like 50.
What's that? Electrified?
This one's a Marvel Max Force. It's an overseas ball. I got a Zero, which is an overseas ball. I got an Astro, a Rubicon, and an Outcry from 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. And this is also another overseas ball. It's Halo Burn. So. All right. So I'm at 24 with 2 or 23. Apologies for continuing to put my sweaty ginger face in front of the camera. But 23 or 24 is probably about the right spot. And this has given me the best. It gives me kind of an Astro shape, kind of that rounder, continuous shape. It gives me more of the traction like the Marvel Max Force without kind of the relentless, hook. So I've got a lot more control with that. I've got traction, but I've got control. This is kind of some place where I'm comfortable throwing the ball anyway. And again, I really like this ball on the other side of the lane. But again, this shows off a little bit of the layout too. So it's not pin up, it's not pin down. By drilling through the pin, you don't have to go too far one way or the other. Now, depending on your positive axis point too. Mine is just kind of a more normal one. I think it's 5 and 3 5 3/8 over and a half an inch up on the left side. So if I drill the pin out, that ends up making it 4 3/4 inch pin to pap and 3.5 inch pin buffer, or somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 or 50 degrees for the dual angle out there. That one I just got really fast with my feet on. I get a little bit excited about throwing it good, and then everything goes to hell. But like I was saying, there's not a whole lot of, the left side is a little bit flatter. So there's just not really any hole in the middle. If you miss inside on the left side, you might as well, you just forget about it. Just pick up the spare, if there is a spare to pick up. Shoulders have been getting a little square here too, so we're gonna try to just loosen up a little bit. So yeah, usually that's what happens. I throw a couple really good ones, and then I want to start running up there and, you know, using the big wheels instead of just slowing down and executing the shot. Oh heck, Mr. Chad. Okay, the camera's gonna wobble. He didn't even ask a question. Chad. Thanks a bunch, Mr. C&M Collectibles, for the very gracious donation. Mr. Chad from our Discord group. And as the name would indicate, he does a whole lot of cool stuff with collectibles, and I don't know exactly the extent of what he does, but just go check out his channel and find out, because he's got all kinds of stuff. So thanks, Chad, really appreciate it. And I think I'm just about done with the stream here. I'm gonna throw a few more shots with the burn here because it looks really good. And also kind of try to reinforce some good habits here. So instead of focusing so much on the ball reaction, I'm going to kind of, now that I've kind of figured some physical stuff out, I'm going to try to reinforce that a little bit. It's a halo burn, it's overseas. So a ball that you're comfortable with is always the best one to work on mechanical stuff with, because if you're fighting ball reaction, whether or not you're worried about the ball reaction, subconsciously your head's always paying attention to it, because the name of the game is knocking the pins down. So some other people may be able to kind of ignore it. I really can't. So whenever I'm practicing mechanics, I have to throw something that's reacting good, that I'm comfortable with, that feels good coming off my hand. So I'm going to throw a few more shots here and try to kind of reinforce what I've been working on physically. So I wrapped around that one a little bit, but I'm not terribly concerned with that. It came off my hand good. It was in the right spot. I'm standing in the right spot. I'm throwing the right ball. Everything's working out pretty good. So just need to be a little bit softer, get it down the lane a little bit quicker, not try to hook it so much. my hand got there a little bit quick, but every tempo wise, I'm pretty happy. So I can dial my hand a little bit. I think I've got some where my my eyes are looking is a little bit off. That wasn't great, but it wasn't that bad either. I'm starting to get a little tired here, but you know, I've been bowling for 2.5 hours now, so I imagine my battery's probably getting low too, but I haven't seen a warning yet, so a couple more shots. I'm gonna throw at least one more really good one. We'll probably call it a day here. All right, I'm probably gonna call it a day there. That was pretty good. I was pretty happy with that one. So it's always best to end on a good note so that you don't leave practice pissed. And you want to keep yourself from getting too tired, because sometimes you can start reinforcing bad habits if you start to get tired and start to force stuff. I am starting to get a little tired, and I could use something to eat, so. Plus I'm sweating like a cow. So, thanks everybody for showing up. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot more about, thought we end lofting the gutter. No, that's just for ball review videos. Which, speaking of ball reviews, my reviews for the Dark Code and UFO Alert are 2 weeks from Friday, so they're still a ways out. I haven't gotten the balls yet, and I can't release them until 3 weeks before release date, so it's still gonna be a couple weeks. My intro for the Dark Code is ridiculously cool. I had a really slick idea and it worked out pretty good, so that'll be fun. The balls should be pretty good. Once again, Storm's got a video that's actually releasing here in about 30 minutes, I think, the Dark Code versus the Code Black, so I know that's one that a lot of people have been curious about. I have a Code Zero to compare to in my video. Once again, we've been live from Royal Crest Lanes. Thanks once again to Larry Burton, the owner, Jesse Bauer, the GM, and the head mechanic, Rocky Russell, for getting me set up. Once again, whenever I'm just practicing or shooting video or whatever else, all I have to do is send a text and I'm set up. So anytime you're in the area, plus Wayne and Larry's on the other side. There's a really great bar and grill anytime you're here. So once again, thanks everybody for hanging out. We'll probably do this again. I'm off this week, so we'll probably do this again on Friday or something like that. So thanks everybody for watching. Thanks once again for the donations, Evan and Chad. Really appreciate it. And we will see you guys next time.